Hi.
Hey.
What are you doing here, huh?
What am I doing here? What are you doing here, sir?
Well, I, the same thing you are,
Oh,
asking what the other person's doing here. That's what we're doing here. Also, we're putting on a show. It's called Don't Worry Wednesday. I'm not the host, so I'm going to
it
let Joe
is.
do it.
All right, welcome. Welcome everybody to Don't Worry Wednesday. This is our Wednesday show that is all about you guys. We love you guys, and so we want to help any way we possibly can. We want to talk about whatever's on your mind. And so if you have a topic you would like us to talk about, you can go to don'tworrywednesday.com, click the submit a topic button, and you can fill out the form, and then you can do it. Except for
Sounds
apparently, I
great.
was I was DMing with someone who was like, "Is there something wrong with the mobile site of Don't Worry Wednesday?" And so apparently their keyboard on their phone wasn't showing up when they hit the submit a topic button. But they have an iPhone, and I don't know how to work an
Oh,
iPhone. So I was trying a bunch of different things to troubleshoot and everything, and I was just not coming up with anything to help them. So I was like, you know what? Why don't you just send me the topic, and then I'll submit it for you, and that'd be good. So that's what we did, and it was awesome. But anyway, yeah, it worked on my phone, and it seemed we haven't had any other issues come up. But yeah, go ahead and click the submit a topic button, and then a form will come out, and then just fill it out. Make sure you say that you are a human, and then do the capital letters to prove that you're not a bot, because that's what that's there for. But anyway, did last
mhm.
Wednesday go well? Yeah, I think it did go
It was
well.
canceled.
Actually, I had a week-long visit with my boys, which was
Mm.
awesome, and I get very limited time to do that. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna spend this time with my kids, and it was
Mm-hmm.
awesome. And then we just had trouble finding a sub, and so we were like, well, we'd never cancel this show ever. I suppose if we do it once,
Mm-hmm.
it's not
We've
gonna
been
make
going strong, getting every Wednesday for like what, 5, 6, maybe 7 years? I don't
something
even
like
know.
that. Something like that. We've missed very few. I think we did skip one around the holidays at one point because everybody was
Okay,
busy.
fair enough. It's believable.
But oh
Yeah.
man, that's like my favorite song. Stop the Bot, man. I love that song. It's a great song.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah. Anyway, so this is Don't Worry Wednesday. We are not professional counselors, therapists, or anything like that. We're not attorneys. We're not policemen. We're not any of that. So, like, whatever advice we give you is not a substitute for professional advice. It is just us wanting to be your friends, offer some love and encouragement and some perspective along the way. Because even when you are in the middle of getting professional help in any field, you got to have friends around you. That's one of the things that my therapist told me, like, right off the bat. She was like, okay, who are your friends? Because
Mm.
we did the whole depression inventory, the anxiety inventory, and everything like that. And then she was like, oh wow, you're a mess, dude. Who are your friends? So I listed them off, and so that was good. She was like, okay, you've got a good friend network. You're gonna need friends as you go through this, and that's what we want to do, even if it's just for a short time here on a Wednesday evening, to share some love and perspective and anything we can do to help. And you guys are always free to send us direct messages in Discord. I don't know, everything. It changed. I'm at plebnub, I think, on Discord, and you're at static p, I think.
That's correct.
Is that right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah. So you can always feel free to get a hold of us on Discord, and we'd be happy to talk to you. We'd be happy to hear from you. So anyway, yeah. Did I miss something? I feel like I missed something. That was way too short. Thank you, Yozoa. That is my Discord name, and that is Ryan's Discord name.
You did it. Thanks.
You done did it,
You
man.
done did it. I wasn't
Yep.
sure if mine had a dash or underscore or not. I think it didn't let you to have a dash, so I had to do it without one. and that's my YouTube one. I don't know. I tried to keep things consistent, whatever they are.
Yeah, it's all good. So yeah. So anyway, welcome. You guys look amazing. How y'all doing there in the chat? Besides good looking, I mean, and then obviously Ryan. Look at that guy. He's good looking. Always the best looking of us. Look at that.
Yeah, but have you seen me from this angle?
He's got the best looking face twitches.
My face twitches are better than yours.
It does. It does. I'm glad. Oh, man, Baka, I'm sorry to hear you're broke. I've definitely been there before. You know what being broke is? It's a perfect place to start.
Nice.
I've been broke lots of times. And you know what? It's generally a good, it's good. So, yeah,
you know
RK,
Tomato?
You're doing amazingly. What?
Tomato, I got something for you.
Oh, boy.
That's all I got.
Wait, what was that?
That was a torch.
A torch?
That was a threat.
Oh, boy.
That was a threat.
He
threatened me. He said, I'm plotting the downfall of Static P. So that was my response. Fire.
Okay.
I know an arsonist.
wait.
You know
Who
too.
are you talking? Wait. Don't give away secrets.
Okay. I'm sorry. I won't tell him.
Don't. Yeah.
I won't tell him. I won't give him any more hints. I won't.
All right, cool. Well, we've got some topics. You guys have been submitting topics and everything. Like, it's great. So, yeah, we've got a bunch that we could go through here. We've got a few that are urgent. We've got one that was urgent way back a few weeks ago. So if you're here and you have a topic, let us know you're here. And because most of these say that I want to be present when you do my topic. So yeah. So let us know. If you have a topic and you're here, let us know. Yozua, awesome. You're here. You have a topic. And I'm guessing, well, we've got a couple. And RK, yep, you have a topic. Awesome. So Yozua, do you want us to do the alienation from friend group or what to do with free time? Because we've got those two from you. And
I think there's probably another one that we haven't processed yet, but we didn't have a whole lot of time.
Friend group. Gotcha.
Friend group.
All right, we can definitely do that one. So perfect. Let me get everything kind of set up here. And then and then we can get things rolling.
Sorry, Emilios, that was great. Sorry, I just saw that joke. That's
what?
funny. Next time we needed a sub, we can check the Society of Subs on the Subway.
Oh.
But here's the question: do we go to a Subway station or do we go to Subway the restaurant? Which do you think's going to provide better wisdom?
You know, it's interesting.
Some random stranger on the subway or a random stranger in Subway?
I have a story about Subway,
but
I'm not going to tell it right now.
Oh, okay. A great start.
It's
That was that was. Oh wow, that was the biggest cliffhanger of my life.
I did learn. What's that?
That was the biggest cliffhanger I've ever experienced in my life.
Yeah.
I have a story I'm not going to tell you. It's like, oh, great. Now I want to know it. What's going to happen next? I mean, the beginning.
Kishin, you're here too. Awesome. Kishin, you have a topic. Let's see how many topics we can get through in good form.
Great.
What do you think? Good idea?
Let's see how it goes.
Time for a good idea, bad idea. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here we go. I'm going to put this topic. This is alienation from friend group from Yozua. And I will put it up on the screen and read it aloud. And you can read along with me. So here it is. Again, alienation from friend group. I was in the cinema the other day. It was a secret screening. The movie was the upcoming movie Elementals or whatever it was called. All was good until I noticed who was sitting in front of me. It was one of the people from that friend group I knew for 5 years who all cut contact with me. They didn't notice I was there, but I felt very uncomfortable and can't stop thinking about that friend group again. I still don't know why they all cut contact. Please help.
Mm.
And that is from Yosua. Yosua, first of all, let me tell you, I'm sorry to hear that that this is happening. Oh wait, I gotta Here we go. Now that's gonna work. So yeah, Yozo, I'm sorry to hear that happened. I've definitely had that happen before. I've been the perpetrator of burning bridges with people, and I've been on the receiving end of burning bridges with people, and it's painful. And there's questions, and on both sides, it generally can be painful. So, man, so my heart goes out to you because I know what that feels like, and it's tough. So, but then you run across them years later, and then it's really awkward. Or it can be really awkward, or it can be just kind of like, hey, it's almost like there's some unfinished, feelings in there, especially if it's abrupt, and then there's people get hurt, and then there's unresolved hurts in there, and so naturally it's going to be awkward. And I would say, even though it appeared that they did not notice you, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually did notice that you were there. I don't know, maybe I'm just good at noticing people. I usually notice, if I have known someone for, and I haven't seen them in a long time, and then all of a sudden I run across them again. A lot of times I notice them, but whether they did or did not, that's not really the issue at hand. I'm not sure why they all cut contact with you either, but sometimes people just be like that, and it's tough. Sometimes stuff's going on in their life that they don't feel like they can continue a friendship with whoever. Maybe I'll get into that story of when I burned a bridge with my friends, and kind of what was going through my head at the time. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out of Ryan's way, and I'm going to let him talk about this because, I don't know. Has anybody ever cut contact with you, Ryan?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I can say that this is a very obviously people have contact. Yes, I've someone who, well, there was a girl that I really really liked, and we had talked for like a whole year straight, and we were really close. And then one day she just stopped talking to me altogether. That was a rough one. Did finally talk to her like several months later, but yeah, then it was no. And then then I had another person contact. I've had a couple of people contact. Yeah,
I gotcha.
But regardless of whether people have cut contact with me or not, this scenario is very, what's the word? Relatable. To me. In my youth, obviously, I had a lot of bullies and stuff like that, but I wasn't very popular. I didn't have a lot of friends. I made a lot of enemies, etc. And there's in this scenario where you have a group of people who have made themselves your enemy or whatever. They don't like you for whatever reason. They won't talk to you, whatever it is, and just kind of being in an area around them. And obviously you don't talk to them, they don't talk to you, but your mind is buzzing. It's like I can imagine you being at the cinema and you have no idea what was on the movie because the whole time your brain is just going 500 miles an hour about how you're frustrated or angry or upset or sad, whatever the emotion is, about just everything involving that friend group. Especially since they, it feels like they did you wrong, and it's just like what do you do? You know? And so anyways, that part of it especially is very relatable, I think, to a lot of us, whether or not it's out of someone um, someone cutting us off or just just natural social scenarios that happen from time to time where things don't work out with someone, um, and there's tension and contention between you and them. And so here's some thoughts I have for you. Um, I'm imagining that's what the experience was, right? You went to go see this movie. You probably don't remember the movie very well because this whole time your brain is just concentrating on them and the scenario that you got wrapped up in with them. Yeah? Okay. So if that's the case, here's something that I found helpful, and that is relieving yourself from responsibility. Here's a question for you. I already know the answer, but I'm gonna make you ask the question to yourself, and you're gonna know the answer too. It's gonna be easy. So, were you the one that cut them off, or are they the ones that cut you off? And the answer is they cut you off.
Mm-hmm.
What part of that is your choice? None of it, right? Yeah, they cut you off, right? Mm-hmm. So you didn't make that choice. They made that choice. So, yeah, exactly. None of it. So my point of saying that is, it's not your responsibility. So you don't need to bear the weight of the experience as though it's your responsibility. I understand there's a desire there that says, well, they were my friends. I wish it would have worked out. I wish they would have told me what it was. I wish it was different. That's good and natural, and I understand that. But the reality is that it is what it is, right? The reality is, here you are. You didn't make the decision. They did. They didn't tell you why, right? So if you don't know why, and you're not the one who made the decision, and they're not telling you why, then you can mull over it and try to figure out why. But generally, that's not going to get you any results. And just as Nyansa said, you may have done nothing wrong at all. You could have, for some reason, they could have cut you off just because they all decided that would be a thing to do. Who knows why? Maybe one of them didn't like you, and because one of them didn't like you for whatever reason, they just had some preconceived notion about you or whatever, and they never liked you, and now they finally came out and told other people, and they're just like, okay, well, we got to pick sides here, so we'll pick them, and then we won't talk to the other guy anymore, right? Who knows why? But if they're not willing to tell you why, let me tell you, those probably aren't very good friends. Okay, one of them definitely didn't like you. So maybe that was the scenario. If they're willing to, like, throw you under the bus, cut you off or whatever, even though you didn't do anything wrong to them, or even if you did do something wrong, you weren't aware of it, they didn't tell you, they were not willing to make any effort, then it doesn't sound to me like that's a group of people you want to really associate with. Right? It's like, you want to associate with the people that have your back. If you're going to spend time making a relationship with someone, if you're going to spend time investing time into someone, into a relationship with them, then it should be someone that's worth your while. And if they've made themselves not worth it, then it's important to recognize it's not your responsibility to fix the problem. It's not your responsibility to mull over it. It's not your responsibility to figure out what went wrong. None of that is your responsibility. The only thing that matters a lot of times in scenarios like this is, what do you do now? It's not about what happened then, what could have changed. It's, what do you do now? How do you move forward? And To me, I think moving forward means letting go of what's not yours in the first place,
Hmm.
right? Because that friendship, that friend group, it's not yours. It's not. So if you want it, I would say try to tell yourself and prove to yourself that it's not worth having and it's not healthy for you and you don't want it. If you don't want it already, but it still affects you emotionally that something happened like this to you, because it's unjust, right? That's the obvious truth. It's not it's not like they did the right thing here, right? You were they did you wrong and now you deal with it, right? And that's what happens a lot of times when someone does someone else wrong. Like you break someone's window, right? And you either pay for it or you let them deal with it, you know? And a lot of people will just walk away and say, "Oh, that's your broken window.
Mm-hmm.
It's your problem."
Sounds like
You
a
know?
you problem.
Yeah. So right, and that's not the right thing to do. So they're not doing the right things. So you don't want to be friends with them, right? So here's the thing. Forgiveness, if it's forgiveness that's holding you up, if you're angry at the scenario and you want it to be justified, I understand that. And you're not wrong to be angry and you're not wrong for wanting it to be justified. But being able to move beyond it so that you're not held up, so that your concentration isn't so held up dealing with the scenario and why you're angry that you can't even watch a movie that you went to enjoy, then you need to forgive them because your brain is not capable of holding that grudge and moving forward and doing good things in life.
Mm-hmm.
When your brain is so focused on a traumatic experience where someone's done you wrong, right? And you have every right to experience that. But if your brain gets stuck there and it slows you down from progress in life, it slows you down from being able to enjoy things around you, or it stops you entirely from being able to enjoy the things around you. If that's your experience, then at that point, you're hurting yourself, right? Because it's your brain against you rather than them against you. It's your brain at this point that's holding you back. And so if your brain is holding you back, the only thing you can do is just move on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard. But moving on requires forgiveness. And the only way you can forgive is to say, look, you did me wrong, but I'm over it. As in, you don't have to pay me back. I'm not going to look for this to be justified. I'm not going to look for revenge. I'm not going to look for this to be rectified and fixed. I'm not going to look for you to say sorry. I'm not going to look for any of that. You're just let off the hook, and I'm going to go on with my life and make it the best life I can make. And just basically ignore them because they don't have your best interest in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If this was a friendship, maybe I would recommend something different. But this is not a friendship. Right? It's not. Clearly not. If they're going to do that, right? If they're not even going to make an attempt at explaining what happened, it's not worth chasing. So that's what I got. I know it's kind of harsh. I'm not trying to pick on you and say you're making the wrong decisions. I think you made good decisions. And I think all of us have been in your position where you are now. At least I know most of us have, in one way or another, been in that position.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to me that the only way to move forward is forgiveness and for telling yourself that you're not responsible. Don't feel like this is on you, because it's not on you. It's all on them.
Mm-hmm.
It's all on them. It's not you. You can do nothing except for be the scapegoat, right?
Right.
And that's yeah. That's all you can be, is the scapegoat. You can be the enemy, and you can see yourself as their enemy, or you can just forget them and see yourself as who you are and not let them have any say over who you are and just move on, right? Oh, what's a scapegoat? Scapegoat is when a person or a group of people, generally a group of people, pick someone and make them the enemy so
Mm.
that the rest of them can be united or justified by a cause. So, like, I mean, there's a bunch of anime that make the hero the scapegoat, but a very common, or I'll give you an example might be, um, well, okay, there's two things running through my mind. The origins of a scapegoat is there's a tribe of people, and all the people have done wrong things to each other, and so then they put or spiritually, metaphorically, whatever, they put their wrongdoings on the goat, and then they let the goat run off into the wild so that the people don't have to quarrel between each other anymore, so that it's gone, right? That's the origin of scapegoat. But then that gets changed over time to be people, where people say that person's the real enemy. That person's the real enemy. You see this in politics all the time. Like, oh, that politician, they're the enemy, and he's the person we have to unite, get all riled up together to kill, or to end their career, or to stop them, right? So when you pick someone, you make them an enemy. It creates a community of people who are riled up and working together. The unfortunate part of that is a horrible. That's just bad. It just doesn't. It doesn't create goodness in the world. Let's just say that. And it causes internal trauma and issues for people if they abide by those conditions and they don't recognize what's going on. But anyways, our politics in America use scapegoat constantly. Even like the advertisements on TV will be like, this politician wants blah, 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 and that's bad. Vote no on blah, blah, blah. It's like they make someone the enemy so that you'll side with them without ever even saying why they're good.
Right.
I won't tell you why I'm good. I'm just going to tell you why they're bad.
Right.
So anyways,
yeah.
That's scapegoating. That's all scapegoating. And so to me, it sounds like they scapegoated you. They just said, oh, we can all bond together more if we make that person our enemy and just cut him off and just kind of get on each other's side. Like, yeah, we're better than him. People do that all the time. So anyways, that's scapegoat. There you go. Anyways, sorry, Joe. I'm going to give it over to you.
Well, thank you, Ryan, and thank you for the advice. I'm going to be taking some of that advice. It's very helpful advice. I'm fresh off of this experience happening in my own life with a close, very trusted friend, and like a person from my inner circle that basically knew all of my heart, and then without warning, without explanation, just unfriended, blocked, ghosted, everything. And I was like, whoa, what just happened? I mean, we had some interesting conversations and we were working to mend, our friendship, and, it was, and we were moving forward, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, just gone. And I was like, what happened? I texted, I messaged them, everything's getting returned to me because they blocked me on everything. And I'm like, what just happened? So I don't know. So sometimes in life, what happens is you get sucker punched.
Oh yeah.
I've had it happen before.
Oh, you're gonna have it happen again.
Yep. So sometimes you're just standing there with a bloody nose and you're wondering what the heck just happened.
Yeah.
And you're like, what in the world? And it just throws your mind for a huge loop. And it's crazy because when there's no explanation, when there's no reason given, you're just like, what in the world? Like, how?
You're blindsided.
Right. And then it's like, I can't even.
You don't have any pieces to.
Right.
Puzzle.
I don't even know. Like, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
I thought things were moving ahead. I thought all this was happening. What the heck did I do? I don't think I did anything wrong. And I pinpointed to a couple things that seemed like maybe were the thing, but then I was like, that doesn't seem like it's that big a deal, but who knows, But so here's some things like, so yeah, that to hear that you've gone through this, it upsets me just because I have a fresh wound in this area, right? And so so for me, it's like, and I'm getting over it. It's been like a month, over a month, and but these things take time,
Hmm.
and every day it gets a little bit better, but I still think back upon it and it hurts, you know. But my mind is, but I'm moving in more directions and I'm seeing value in life without this person. In fact, sometimes somebody doing this to you is the best possible
Hmm.
thing that could happen to you.
Absolutely.
The best possible scenario is them just doing that, because maybe it was a relationship that was going to turn out to be unhealthy. You don't know. We don't know where our relationships are going to go all the time, right? And so maybe this was going to be an unhealthy thing. And now they did you the service of removing you having to do this to them, right? Because maybe it was going in that direction. Now, in my personal case, I would never do this. I have made a vow to myself to never burn a bridge ever again. I know, never say never, right? But I burned a bridge with friends one time. And this was like, man, this was a long time ago. I had just
Sounds like when
gotten,
you're 29.
yeah, I was 29. It was like 20 years ago when I was 29, like
Yeah.
cuz I've been 29 since I was born, right? But but I burned a bridge with some bandmates, some really close friends. Like, honestly, this was the best group of musicians that I've ever played with. Like, as far as each person being in their proper in their proper spot, and just masters of their instruments. So good. And then when we get together, it was so tight and so amazing. Like we played good, and we were on our way up, and we were moving things. And then what happened? I got a girlfriend, and I happened to get a girlfriend that was pretty manipulative.
Hmm.
And it's interesting because now I ended up marrying this person and then divorcing them, and and then I look back, and I look back with my therapist on all these things, and within like 6 months of getting into a relationship with this person, I was dismantling my friendships, just like what I did with these bandmates. And these were my best friends. We hung out all the time, we played music all the time, we were gigging everywhere. We were playing in bars and clubs over Detroit and Lansing and Grand Rapids, and like all over Michigan. And we were planning on moving to Boston, and doing all kinds of fun stuff and everything. We had all these plans, and then all of a sudden, like, my brain got all whacked because of romance. Not saying that romance always whacks your brain, but romance with a manipulative person will definitely do a number on your brain.
Hmm. Oh, for
And
sure.
yeah, so
No doubt about that.
so what happened was, then I burned the bridge with these people, and I'll never forget sitting on the couch, talking to them, and explaining that I wasn't going to be in the band anymore, and I wasn't going to be their friend anymore. And then I just grabbed all the stuff that was mine out of there and I left. And from my perspective on that situation, um thank you, Kishan. You're awesome. I feel like romance tends to whack your brain somehow, no matter what.
Yeah.
appreciate the support. But anyway, I've seen romance work wonderfully for people, and they didn't have to lose all their friends, and whatever, right? But
But still
anyway,
wax you in the head a little bit.
oh yeah, good for good head whacking, right? But anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
So I remember leaving that place, and I was so focused on the romantic relationship and so focused on this was what I was going to get brownie points for doing this, right? I was going to get all these rewards in my romantic relationship for doing this because this is what she wanted to have happen. And so like so it was like so there was an excitement, and there was like, so my brain was totally unfocused, and then a couple weeks later I'm like, wait a second, what the heck did I just do? And then a couple months later, it's like, what the heck did I just do? And then years later, I'm like, man, that was the most ridiculous thing I've ever done. And I'm never going to do that again. I'm never going to burn a bridge. If I have to dissociate with someone or just not, talk to him so much, I just won't talk to him so much. But like, I don't ever want to be in that situation where I have to burn a bridge forever and say, nope, I'm not going to be your friend anymore. And I'm cutting all contact, blocking, ghosting, whatever. I'm never going to do that. I say never. I hope I never get in a position where that's the thing that needs to have happen. Because there are times when that, like sometimes we are toxic, and sometimes relationships are toxic, right?
Sometimes they develop into a scenario that's locked, and the only way out of that to help them or to help yourself is to unlock it and to just remove it entirely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
That happens, but it's very rare, very, very rare.
It is. And people burn bridges more often than is necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So anyway, here's the thing, Yosua. Sometimes the pain from this will take time to heal. Now, this has been 5 years, and it sounds like probably everything was going okay. You've kind of put your life together, you're moving in new directions and all this kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden, here they show up. And it triggers the whole thing. And then you're back in that pain again, and you're back in wondering, what the heck did I do wrong? And reliving the experience. That's the perfect time to do what Ryan was just saying and forgive them. The most effective time to forgive a person is when you are feeling the feelings of pain, of hurt, the ones where they hurt you. And when you're in that and you're feeling the pain and you're feeling the hurt, and, in that moment you make the choice to forgive them, that's when forgiveness is the most effective in repairing what's inside your heart. And I remember going through a program that was like that, dealing with all kinds of walls that I'd built up and barriers that I'd built up between me and other people. And I was unable to develop like true friendships because of this. And it was really hard. And I had to go back to these experiences. This was guided by a therapist, right? And I had to go through these experiences and get to the point where I was reliving them in my mind and feeling the pain and remembering that, oh, this person did this thing and they did it in front of a whole bunch of people and it hurt so bad. And I remember just going, it was in school, and I went and sat in a stairwell in school by myself, and I just bawled my eyes out because it hurt so bad. And I was just like, what in the heck? And that incident, because I told myself I'm never going to have that happen again, I built up a wall to protect myself. But what that did was it kept out, like good things. That wall keeps out that bad, but it also keeps out good. It keeps out the ability for us to live fully. And so breaking down those walls, and we do that through the forgiveness. And I was guided to that point where I was just like, and I was crying again because I was remembering this experience. And then at that moment was when they were like, okay, now is when you forgive them. Now is when you say, I forgive you. Just like what Ryan was saying, what you did was wrong and it hurt me. But I forgive you, and I'm not going to hold it against you. And I'm letting it go. And then sometimes it still hurts. Sometimes you have to do that a few times. But that heartbrokenness that we experience, sometimes we have to just pass the time. And I've said it on Don't Worry Wednesday before, where we need to develop new history. We need to go do things. We need to go do things, maybe new things that we've never done before. Maybe find a new game to play, or find a new thing to do recreationally, or find some people to hang out with and hang out with them and do some stuff. Because the more you can do with people who love you and accept you, the more that's going to accelerate your healing through that time. And it also gives you something to do while you're passing the time. Because healing sometimes takes time, and sometimes it takes a long time. And I don't know, but man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you went through this, because I know it hurts. I know it hurts. And I'm sorry you had to relive it, because I know that hurts too. But it's also an opportunity here to take this pain that you're reliving, that you've been reminded of, and while you're feeling that pain, offer the forgiveness to that person. Because then that will start to break down the walls that you've built to protect yourself and open you up to being able to live more fully, if that makes sense. So anyway, I hope that makes sense. I'm going to turn it back over to Ryan, see if he's got anything else. Ryan, you've just changed your clothes.
You know what?
I had to point that out to everybody.
I
did.
You just called me out, man.
I did that. Ryan's going to block me and unfriend me for saying that, I'm sure.
That's right. No.
No, we got too much to do, man. We ain't got time for that.
Yeah. I don't got time for all that blocking crap. Let's just go. Let's just get the friendship back on track.
I know, right? Like, seriously.
I don't want to go through the whole hullabaloo blocking and unblocking. I'm not talking to you for a week and then talking to you.
My goodness gracious.
Yeah, and solving it just eventually anyways.
I love you, Ryan. You're so awesome.
Yeah, I love you too. You're awesome. The only thing I want to add is just one little thing that helps me when it comes to forgiving someone, which is to basically no longer let your emotions be affected by the wrongs that another person did, right? As they're wrong, it's not yours. So you can, or even if it's your past self, that's important too. If it's your wrong because you need to forgive yourself, that's important too sometimes. But one thing that helps me a lot is to say and admit this fact, and it's a phrase that Jesus said when he was on the cross, and just before he died, he said, forgive them, Father. They know not what they do. Mm-hmm. And it's not just the fact that I'm repeating Jesus, who's forgiving people of their sins while they're literally killing him. It's because that line is true. People don't know what they're doing.
Right. They don't know the pain they're inflicting on us.
They don't know the pain they're inflicting. They don't realize the ramifications, this self-harm that they're doing. They don't realize the possible eternal ramifications. They don't comprehend the whole world around them. We can't do that. We don't know everything, and we don't know what we're doing. Sometimes we're just reacting to emotions, and we're choosing the only path that we can see in front of us. And it's not a good path. But we don't have the mind to process and know what would have been the better answer, or to know that, hey, sometimes I need to not do these things. And sometimes I need to take a moment and plan something out, right? But we don't know better. And so for me to say they know not what they do, they don't understand, they don't know what they're doing, it turns my mind to compassion. And when I have compassion for someone and the fact that they don't understand, so they didn't really have a good choice and they're just stuck where they're at, and where they're stuck is kind of pitiful and it's not the best version of themselves, and I can pity them. I can have compassion, right? That for me is really helpful when I'm trying to conjure up forgiveness. Because if I can put myself in a state of compassion, a state of understanding of the fact that they don't understand, or they don't know what they did, there's so much they don't realize. And they have so much to grow, and they have so much to, like, whatever it is, whatever led them into that point in life must have been awful, right? Maybe their home life's not so great, or maybe, just things happen in their life that brought them to that conclusion, which is awful, that they would even come up with such a thing, right? Or maybe that's what they're just repeating after what their brother did or something, right? And it's just like, I have reason to have compassion for them. I have reason to recognize, like, hey, they're trying to figure it out too, you know? And so to have compassion allows and helps me forgive people a lot better, because I'm not putting myself in a place of it's me versus them. I'm putting myself in a place of we're all in this together. And it's a lot easier to forgive people when you recognize, hey, it does, like, I have no desire for your downfall. My desire is for your growth. My desire is for you to become a better person, the kind of person that does this, right? And I can say that about myself too. If I've done something that I've, messed up and I need to forgive myself, it's like I'm fighting for a better version than the person that did that stupid thing. But I need to encourage that person, not hurt them, right? Not sit there and sulk. I need to encourage that person and keep on moving forward, especially if that person is me. But if it's someone else, that's true too. If they've cut me off, then the only thing I can do to encourage them, well, it's nothing. It's not be their enemy, at least, right? And if I can, I might introduce something into their presence, like walk up to them and say, hey, I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Or, hey, I just want to encourage you. Hey, I just wanted to say that thing that you just did, I just witnessed you doing. That was really cool. Like, you're really talented, whatever it is, right? To give a little bit of encouragement, even as the perceived enemy, could change the world for them. It can change the world for you too. And so to recognize we're not enemies here. We're all on the same side. We're not the enemies, right? We're all on the same side. We should be trying to fight for each other and fight for ourselves. And we have to be that kind of person in life. Or else our minds are never at peace, because we're always at war with someone or something, because we're not on anybody's side, and we're making enemies, and we're holding grudges, and we cannot possibly be at peace without forgiveness. So
it's true.
I think that's a really important message, and to embrace that really helps with forgiveness. So that's what I want to end on.
Cool. I've got one last little bit. Thank you, Ryan, for that. And he's so right that forgiveness is the way to do this. Baka, you've had a few things in the chat that I see that I think are really good. You've got friendships are hard, switching schools, moving on to college, things change, people disappear. Some you talk to, then the ones you don't talk to or just disappear fade from importance. And that's pretty true. Another thing, become yourself, a weird way to put it. Sometimes you need to find yourself, build yourself up. And you just have a new one. Building yourself can create pieces of a bridge that others can look at and create a connection. Absolutely. So this is a time of pruning and of growing from being pruned. You know how like plants get pruned in order to grow more fully, right? Like they'll do this with plants. They'll like prune off certain spots, certain branches or whatever. And what happens is that allows the plant to be more healthy and be more full and better. My brother would do this with forestry. He was a forester for years, and he would walk through people's 40-acre plots, 100-acre plots, whatever, and he'd cruise through there and pick the trees that needed to get taken out in order for the health of the entire forest to improve. So he would go through and he would be like, okay, yep. And he understood the science of forestry enough to know which those trees were the ones that needed to be taken out in order for the whole forest to be more healthy, better, more, I don't know, to just be better. Right. And that's what happens. And, honestly, none of us will have a relationship with that person for our entire lives. Unless, I'm not going to be friends with Ryan for our entire lives unless we are in the same car that crashes and we both die.
Well, it's not possible because you weren't my friend when I was born.
That's true. That's true too. So, but from the time, but the point is, we all have a limited time with every person that comes our way, with every person that we love, with every person that we're friends with every person that we share time and talk with, whatever. It's a limited time. And so from that perspective, we understand, I remember hearing this quote that each person is kind of like, each relationship we have is kind of like a wave. You go to the shoreline and you see a wave come in and it crashes and goes back, right? Each relationship we have is like that. It comes in, you can see it coming and you experience it. And maybe if you're a surfer, you ride on it, right? Or maybe you just enjoy it or you're out in it or whatever. But that wave comes through and there's never going to be another wave exactly like that wave. Every single one of them is different to some degree. So it's unique and it's valuable, just like every person that comes your way. They're unique, they're valuable. There'll never be another relationship in your life like that one. And it's the same for each one that you have with your friends, your family members, any romantic people, anything. But they're limited. Because then the wave crashes, it goes back out to sea, and then we release that person back into the world and away from us. And I think it helps to take that perspective, understanding that we are all finite. And we are all infinitely valuable. So understanding that can help, it can help us put things into the proper perspective and say, you know what? I was never going to have this person forever anyway. This person was never going to be a part of my life forever anyway. They're going to come and they're going to go. And people come and go from our lives every day. Some people stick. Some people stick for a while and then we lose contact. It's just, it happens.
Yep. I mean, geez, I've had, I don't know, hundreds of friends probably in my life, and they all come and go.
Yep.
Most of them anyways. Joe and a couple of other members at BSS or whatever might be an exception, but most, 99%, right? Just here and then gone. And that's just how life goes. That's what you come to expect out of life. Everyone has their own niches. Everyone has places they're going in their journey, and all our journeys aren't going to be the same. Everyone has a different journey, and it's rare that you find someone that's on a parallel path, in
right.
theirs.
You're right.
Same time as you, right? So
it's very true. And so here's the takeaway from all that. That relationship, however long it lasts or lasted, is valuable. And we should be thankful for that time because we don't know how long it's going to last. We don't know, but when we're with that person, when we're sharing time with that person, that's something to celebrate in our minds or maybe celebrate with them. It's something to be very, very thankful for and understand that it's not going to last forever. And that's okay. But the key is how valuable that time you had to spend with them was. And the other thing too, when you have a situation like this where it hurts, where they leave you and it hurts, they cut contact and it hurts. As hard as it is to see when we're in the middle of it, it's an opportunity to grow. And you can be so thankful because sometimes, like I said before, it's the exact thing that needs to happen to have them no longer be a part of your life. Because then you can grow in ways that you may not have been able to with them being a part of your life. So anyway, Yozo, I hope that makes sense. I appreciate you so much, and I love you, man. Like,
Yeah.
thank you so much for the topic.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope some of what we said has made sense and can help you move forward through this, because I understand it's painful.
Yeah, it is.
It's
it is painful.
mm-hmm.
I mean, we all search for, I mean, most of us anyways, to fit in with society. This is a natural part of your state of mind, is we all want to be appreciated and noticed and loved by other people around us. We all want to have other people enjoy us and our presence. We want to have good relationships with people, right? And so when someone just cuts you out, it feels awful. And so it's like a core part of us is being, I don't know, like attacked. So it's understandable that it's painful, and I think it's painful for everybody when they have friends that just cut them out.
Mm-hmm.
And just recognize, hey, if you have a friend that cuts you out, then they've done you a favor in a lot of ways, because they're clearly not in the state of mind to be a friend worth having at that point in time. They might come and change in the future, but at that moment, I don't know. I don't think that there's someone you can rely on if they're willing to just
very true.
cut it out. Yeah.
If they're willing to do
You need
that,
friends that you can rely
they
on.
have automatically disqualified themselves.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's a great way to flip it around in your head.
Mm-hmm.
They have disqualified themselves from being your friend. They've shown their true colors. They've shown what they are willing to do to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not being a good friend.
Yeah. Yeah, they're willing
So they
to
don't
drop
qualify.
you. So
Yep.
like
they don't qualify.
Yeah, they don't qualify.
So
yeah, that's absolutely right.
Yep. Anyway, so thank you so much, Yoso. You're awesome. And with that, we can move on to our next topic. Kishan, I see you recently typed in the chat. We've got a topic from you. We also have a topic from RK. The RK topic was urgent. I think we can probably get to them both. I think we have time to do that. So why don't let's, Kishan, are you still here?
Yeah, Kishan and also RK.
And RK. Yes. If you guys are here, we would love to make sure you're here so we can have you be present when we cover your topics.
RK have an alias?
Yes, but I don't think.
Okay, well, you don't have to. Just didn't know.
I haven't seen
in
either of them.
chat. I think I saw RK. I thought I
I've
saw
seen
an
RK.
in the
Yeah,
chat.
RK is.
Oh yeah,
in the
yeah,
chat.
yeah. RK is in the chat.
Mm-hmm. Well, tell you what. So, Kishan, we will go to yours, and then we'll see if RK comes back. While we're in the process of doing this one. So cool. This is called Burnout and Breaks. And this is from Kishan Slayer. And let's see. Ooh, it's a, oh, nice. All right, good. Yeah, I will get the topic up on the screen for you guys, and then I will read it out loud, and you guys can read along with me. So here it is. And this is Burnout and Breaks from Kishan Slayer. Hold on. Oof. All right. Here we go. first time I've asked a question in a long time, probably a year or two, but I've been struggling with some stuff and I'd like a third-party perspective. So I'm a college junior this year and I've been working various jobs throughout. Retail, food, currently at a local Walmart. Anything to keep the bills paid. My parents help me massively with rent. They pay about 50% of rent and utilities until I can find a roommate, but this past semester was just brutal. I'm a music education major with very little talent for music. This was intentional. I went into a field I'm bad at purely so I could prove to myself I can get good at something, and because it's one of the hardest degrees the school offered. And last semester of practice, ensembles, and normal classwork just buried me alive. I would go to school at 8 a.m. 5 days a week, then work 2 8-hour shifts. Or two 8-hour Walmart shifts for the weekend. If I made a mistake with time management, my classes immediately took a hit. And because I only worked weekends, if I missed a shift or two, I'd be immediately fired. I've come to a point where I genuinely just cannot do it. But at the same time, my parents are already being unreasonably awesome and generous. I have savings, but those were meant for way down the line. I can't shake the feeling that if I stop now, it will be irresponsible and almost disrespectful. I've somewhat made my peace with that, but in addition, I've essentially just become a workaholic. If I go 2 days doing nothing, I go nuts. So on the one hand, I'm stressed trying to do everything. On the other hand, I'm terrified that if I slow down the grind, I won't be able to start back up again. Plus, I don't do well with breaks. My homeschool never did summer breaks, so at most, I'm used to a week or two of downtime. 3 or 4 whole months of it, my mind goes to some seriously dark places. Mostly, I'm writing this just for the purpose of writing it out. But if I had to focus things down, I would like to ask 2 questions. 1, do you think it's irresponsible to quit? And 2, what are some constructive things, aside from practice, of course, to fill my time with because I do not know how to properly take time off, LOL. Incidentally, I absolutely do have friends, but they pretty much all go home during breaks and I'm just alone in what feels like a ghost town. Sorry for the long one, LOL. Appreciate it if you got all the way down here. And that's from Kishan.
Kishan, you're awesome.
Yes, Kishan, you're amazing. So cool. Let's see. Transition. Sweet. So we've got the questions. You're feeling burned out. You're wondering, is it irresponsible to quit when you're feeling burned out? Is it irresponsible to take a break when you're burned out? The short answer is no, it's not irresponsible. Sometimes it's the most responsible thing you can do to take some time off, and just do nothing. Now, I understand the feeling of going nuts. I remember I was a property inspector for years and years and years, and I remember when I went full-time at BSS, I was talking to Kyle, who's Ryan's brother, and he handles our money and finances and stuff, and we figured out it was time I could go full-time, and that'd be great, and we could use that, and I'm like, sweet. And he said, but the first thing, when was the last time you took a vacation? And I was like, I don't know, like 14 years ago. Like, for serious. Like, other than, I think the longest, I had like a 4-day weekend, maybe, here and there, once in a while.
Sure.
And he goes, you need to take 2 weeks off. That's your first task when you go full time, is you need to take 2 weeks off and, like, recharge. Because, dude, you have worked your butt off for so long. Like, you need to take a break. And it was funny because like 5 days later I was working. I think I lasted like 5 days, and then I was off helping with Steve, one of our partners, with building his studio. So it was, I don't know, it was pretty crazy. But yeah. So is it irresponsible to take some time off? Absolutely not. And I don't think I think worrying about losing your ability to grind is probably something you don't need to worry about. You can find a way to pick it back up. And
Mhm.
sometimes taking that time off is the best thing that can happen. Sometimes taking that time off is the thing you actually need in order to reflect and in order to move forward. But I understand. I understand when you're in that mode of working and grinding and going crazy, like you're like, what am I going to do with myself? And you might only last a few days before you're trying to figure out what to do, that's productive so you can be doing something, right? But anyway, so no, it's not irresponsible. And then things that you can do with your time, I guess it depends on your personality. For me, I personally, I like being out in nature. I like going kayaking. I like going hiking in the woods. I like, being out. I like trees. I like hills. And I like water, especially. And so if I can go be on the water, sit on the water, whatever. And that's probably why I only took about 5 days off when I made the transition to BSS, because it was in November. And so I
Mm,
couldn't go to the beach.
that's great. Well,
I
you
mean,
could go. It's just not.
it would not have been as
It would
fun.
not have been what you wanted to experience at a beach.
Man, oh, living in Louisiana, water ain't hard to find. That's for sure.
Oh, good.
That's for sure. There's water everywhere. You might even be tired of it living down there. I mean, Michigan's not a whole lot different. It's just that we've been able to drain our swamps.
Mm,
Um, Michigan, basically, before people came here, was a big old swamp.
yeah.
All lower
The whole thing
Michigan,
was.
anyway. It was just all
Yeah.
swamp, right? And yeah, Baca, you got the right idea. The right idea. Outdoors and music. That's great. And yeah, obviously you've got, practicing to do, you said, and you can play games. You can, like figure out something you maybe you put on the back burner in your head, and you're like, I'll get into that when I have time. When I get done with this, then I'll get into that. Maybe this is the perfect opportunity for you to get into something that you've always wanted to do. And so that's definitely a possibility. Hey Zay, welcome. Is that how you
Hey,
pronounce that?
welcome.
Zay? I'm going out on a limb.
It might be a Chinese X.
And then it's pronounced what?
CH. Sound.
Che?
Probably.
Che?
Yeah, something like that. I don't
What?
think it's a Chinese X. I'm just saying if it is.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Mhm.
Anyway, yeah,
I think
so
Chinese X is a CH sound. Or maybe it's an SH sound. I can't remember. It's been a long time.
yeah, I don't know either. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the best thing I can and give it over to Ryan. So Ryan,
Yeah,
it's all yours,
perfect.
buddy.
Thanks.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was going with Zay anyways.
Zay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Awesome. Thank you.
perfect. Okay, Kishan, here's the thing. You're awesome. I don't think you need us, but I'm going to tell you to do something you're not gonna do. But I hope you do decide to do it. Um, because it's great. Um, and okay, I'm just gonna get on with it. Kishan, you already wrote your solution. You pretty much wrote your solution down in here. Let me read this line to you. Um, I've essentially become a workaholic. Okay, so you know the problem. All right. And then, blah, 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 some words. And then you say 3 or 4 whole months. Sorry, 3 or 4 whole months of it being a break, which is a very long time. You don't have to do that extreme. You said, my mind goes to some seriously dark places.
Mhm.
So you, like many, many, many people, most of the world, you like most of the world, and at least in America, where, well, America and Japan and Korea, China and uh, I don't know, Europe. So most of the world, um, when you have some downtime, your brain starts freaking out.
Hmm.
And if you let your mind sit there for too long, it will wander into its dark places and you're not going to have a good time.
Mhm.
Um, I'm challenging you right now to become a person that does not do that. I'm challenging you right now to become a person who can be at peace when there's nothing for you to solve, when there's nothing for you to work at, when there's nothing for you to do. You don't feel like you're held up. You don't feel like you are doing something wrong or like you're failing at life because you're not doing something. I'm going to challenge you to become the person that can sit there in silence and be satisfied instead of your mind. And here's the thing, that's a rough one, I know. Here's the thing, the reason your mind goes to dark places is because it has dark places that are yet to be resolved. And you have not confronted those dark places. You have not confronted them, and you have not solved them, and you haven't given yourself time to do that. And if you can solve those problems, you're going to resolve not just the contention of being in silence. Like, you're not just going to solve the problem of like, oh great, now I can settle down a little bit and be like in silence and not freak out or whatever, or feel like I'm worthless just because I'm not doing something. I won't feel that way anymore. You're going to solve a lot of things that you won't even know you were creating problems in, because those things are there and you need to spend time with them for your growth. That's why they're there. That's why they continue to be on your mind when you settle down. So, what I would say is number one on your list for things of like, working through this is wherever your mind takes you, wherever those dark places are, confront those. And talk through them with yourself. And if you can do that when you have free time, you will feel like you've done a lot of work. So, Kishin Slayer, as much as I'm saying I'm challenging you to this, I'm going to make it a little easy for you, okay? Put it in your schedule to do it. You're welcome.
Thank you. Maybe? Question mark.
Yeah, so you're gonna feel like, oh, this is a task. I'm gonna nail it. And your task is literally to confront those dark places. To sit there in the silence, and when your mind finds something that it's uncomfortable with, work it out. Spend time there. Even if it's like you've got to pace in your room, back and forth, just contemplating the issue, trying to find and just squeeze wisdom out of it for like 3 hours. Just pacing back and forth until you're exhausted and you're like, I'm going to go lay down. And you lay down and you fall asleep and you wake back up and you're like, I still didn't solve it. It's okay. You got another day. Put it in the schedule. Next time, you're going to get it. Okay? Schedule it down. Both of you do assume I have a schedule. All right. Well, one way or another, put it in your to-do list. Is that better? Put it in your to-do list. Yeah. Yeah, maybe a schedule is what you need. That could be helpful. I'm sure Joe could give you some advice on that for sure.
Maybe.
But rather than schedule, put it on your to-do list. It's an activity that you need to do. And that is literally go through those dark places until you find peace with the silence. Peace with the silence. Peace with who you are, not based off of how active you are, what you've accomplished, those things, but peace with just you being you. even if it's you doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That's really important, because if you don't get that solved, somewhere down the road, that that pressure is going to build up to someone that you don't want to see. And it's going to be a breakdown. And it can put you out of work in service for months, maybe even years. And I know that sounds kind of unbelievable, but I've seen it a lot. If you can't find peace with yourself in the silence, then at some point that bubble's going to burst, and it's going to force you to be in the silence.
Mm.
Because you're going to find yourself being too depressed to work.
Mm.
And you're just going to be sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
Because at some point or another in life, your activities and your work that you've shown that you've been able to do, and your accomplishments aren't enough to satisfy the deeper crisis of knowing that you're worth something and dealing with those inner battles that are at war with the idea that you're only as valuable as how effective or how creative or how useful you are. And so some of those things have to be touched, right? And spent time on. See, I will say personally, I think one of the major sources of my inner darkness is due to my raw inexperience. Okay, that's fine. That's totally fine. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's probably true for a lot of people. I mean, it makes sense. So I would say that's a good starting point. You've pointed out a major problem, and that's solvable. But it's not easy, but it's something that will reduce the anxiety and help you straighten your course with clarity, right? Because right now you're in a position where you're like, I don't even know, you cannot see or tell whether or not, if you stopped working hard, if you'd be able to come back to working hard. And you're not sure clearly if it's irresponsible to quit or to rely on your parents or to, you know, how to juggle your school and all that kind of stuff, and your finances. And there's all these things. There are pressing matters, right? And all those pressing matters, they're good questions. They're great questions. And you're really smart, Kishan, and you know how to answer these questions. But you're at a battle with them because you have a lack of clarity.
Mm.
And the reason there's a lack of clarity, I think, is simply because you haven't spent the time to confirm with yourself, like, what you believe is good and what you believe is bad, what you believe is like evil or holy, or what you believe is your direction in life for like what's meaningful, what's useful to the world around me, what is healthy for me, what is healthy for my relationships, what is asking too much or what's not, what is taking someone for granted, am I taking someone for granted? These questions need to be answered, and they can only be answered in some self-study, and yes, of course, learning new things from the people around you, and then breaking those down in your head, and then digesting them clearly. But I think if you spent some time in silence, a lot of this would clear up for you, and a lot of it would be made easily, like you could decide on them easily. Like, you just be like, oh, of course, this is my path, so let's see what meets with that. This is where I'm trying, this is who I'm trying to be in life, so let's see what things align with that kind of person, what kind of activities align with who I'm trying to be, or what kind of responses to other people's gifts, or how am I contributing back to them, or whatever it is, right? That requires some time to be spent, and I think you're the person to do it, and it's not anybody else but you.
Mm.
And so, Kishan, that's my challenge to you. I recognize it's a big plate, it's a big challenge, it's difficult, and it's totally feels like the opposite direction of what you were asking, because we're not giving you a, and I'm personally not giving you the answers of the questions. You're asking kind of about like what to do, but I'm telling you, stop the doing, so you can create a person in yourself that knows these answers. Because I think, Kishan, you're on point. Like, you are a doer, and you're doing great things, and you're taking on hard challenges. You literally went to school and picked the thing that you knew would be difficult for you just because it would be difficult. I respect that. I'm similar to that kind of person in some ways, and so I have a lot of respect for that, because I know that's not easy, and it's challenging, and that builds great character. And so, Kishan, I'm impressed. I think it's awesome. Don't be afraid of the silence. Don't be afraid of the dark places in your mind. You have to go there, because you have to go into the darkness. Like, you have to reach into the darkness and grab what you cannot see to have what you do not yet have. Because you don't know what lies there. And you don't know the value that's there. And a lot of times it unlocks a great many things if you're willing to reach. If you're willing to go through it, it unlocks a great deal of momentum and forward movement in relationships, in your career, in your peace of mind and joys in life, and so much more. And so I encourage you to go down that road where you can find time to put that on your to-do list and do it. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for taking it seriously. I really appreciate that. You're a person that takes up challenges that are difficult, and this is a challenge so difficult most people don't take it, and that's why most people hate the silence.
It's true.
But if you can come to enjoy and to love the silence, it will transform you, because those are the moments that reorder your heart. When you talk to yourself, or when you speak to other people, you get lots of nuggets and a lot of ideas, and it's great. But it takes moments of silence for your heart to digest them. It takes quiet, I'm not doing anything, like it requires that your brain isn't distracted by everything around you to make foundational changes. And that's why your heart needs the silence a lot of times, to come into itself, to know itself, and to make the changes that are foundational, and to creating people that are extraordinary people, that have a mission and have a love for the world around them, that people respect, that people look up to, and like, these people change the world. Everyone they meet feels like they've been changed by them, but it requires a love for the silence. I think a lot of times in most people, that's what you find. There aren't many people I can point to that goes, wow, that person was a force of good. Like, they made a change in the world that was really great. There's not many people I can point to that's the case, and they don't simultaneously embrace the silence. they don't, those are the type, of course, those are the type of people that spend time reflecting, and stuff. So I'm gonna stop pushing the envelope. You've already accepted it. I'm just trying to continue to encourage you. Take up the act and see where it goes, see where it leads you. It's not easy, and it's not a one-time deal. It's a lifelong mission. But here's the thing. I say it's a lifelong mission only because you're always going to encounter the silence. But most people, when they do it, they run and they distract themselves. Because they are afraid to talk to themselves. They're afraid to meet those dark places. And living a life of fear is not living a life where you're the best version of yourself. Right? That's obvious. When you're afraid of yourself, right? So that's why it's a lifelong mission, because you always find new things that will come up, and they're meant to be solved by you so that you can go out into the world and help make a difference. Those things will pop up. That's why dark thoughts exist, I think, in part. So anyways, that's enough of that. That's enough of that advertisement. I'm going to give it over to Joe. And I'm sure he's got a lot to add, especially on the doing and the scheduling and stuff like that, because he's way better at that stuff than I am.
I'm not sure what all I can add. I think, Ryan, what you were talking about is so important that I don't want to distract from that. I don't want Kishan, if you have an opportunity to have some time where you can reflect and do this, like what Ryan was talking about is absolutely, it's great. Like it's probably the direction you need to go. Because you can fill your time with stuff. You can fill your time with entertainment. You can fill your time with doing all kinds of fun things. You can fill your time with, I guess doing fun things is entertainment, I guess. But can you, like Ryan was talking about, can you spend time in silence? And sometimes it's scary to go to the dark places he was talking about. If there are dark places in your mind, here's one thing that might take it to a new level. And that is empty your mind. Take time and meditate. Now, you don't have to do this all day. You can do it for 5 minutes. You can do it for 1 minute and still experience great results from this. Because what meditation is it's emptying your mind of everything. You focus on your breathing. And maybe you count while you breathe, count how long it takes to inhale and then match that on an exhale, whatever. But anytime a thought comes in your head, because our brains just go, right? And my brain is crazy. I'm learning about, ADHD stuff. Like my therapist is like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you've got some mild ADHD. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I'll be off in some other direction, right? But because new thoughts come into my mind and new thoughts require my focus, and I get hyper fixated on things, and then these are all part and parcel with it. But here's the thing, I have to learn to quiet the mechanism. I have to learn to silence my brain. Yes, exactly, Kishan. Yes. And what's ADHD? Squirrel. That's how it feels sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Like, totally. And like all of a sudden, my brain will just be off in another direction. And then I'm fixated on that. And then I'm like, why am I fixated on this? This is totally unproductive. This is not doing me any good whatsoever. In fact, it's causing harm it's causing like stress and high blood pressure and stuff like that, right? So, if you can take some time and, do it at any time it feels bad. I try to do it, like when I get up in the morning, where I'll take some time and I'll meditate. I'll spend some time in prayer. I'll spend some time reading. I'll spend some time journaling. And I'll spend some time in just nothing. Meditation, right? Where I breathe, I close my eyes, and if a thought comes in my head, I don't fight the thought, but I dismiss the thought. I say, thank you. You're dismissed. That's what I say to the thought that comes in my head. I'm like, thank you, and you're dismissed. Thank you, you're dismissed. And sometimes I find myself saying that a whole bunch of times because I've got all kinds of thoughts going. Like as soon as our brains go constantly, even when we're sleeping. Because then we're dreaming, and even just because we don't remember what our dreams were doesn't mean we weren't dreaming. But our brains are always going. And for you to make the conscious effort to just shut it down, focus on nothing, and simply exist. That is one of the best things you can do, especially if you're overworked, burned out, you got all this stuff going on. Because what that's going to do is it's going to help you relax enough and be open enough to getting the ideas that are going to help you grow. Because so many times I've thought to myself, I need to do this in order to get better. I need to do this in order to get better. And I need to do this and this and this. And I need to get on it. And I'll stress myself out. And I'll be freaked out at myself over it. But what I really need to do is take a step back, or maybe 10 steps back, sit in silence, think of nothing, and allow myself to just be a part of existence. Allow myself to understand that even if I did nothing, I'm still a valuable part of existence. And that's a tough one. Especially when you struggle. Like I've struggled with massive anxiety and depression. And when you're depressed and you're trying to convince yourself that you're valuable, that's a tough pill to swallow. And it's tough to relearn that you're valuable. But spending that time in silence and not thinking, what you find happens is you can set yourself at peace. You can be okay. You realize that you're just part of this world that's going to continue anyway. We're here. We talk about we want to make a mark on the world, and we should. But you know what? The world's going to continue. We're here for a time, and then the world's going to go on. People are going to pick up where we left off.
It's not all in your hands.
Yep.
And it definitely can't be, and it shouldn't be.
Yep. Every job I've ever had, somebody else, I left that job and somebody else took it and, and they did it. Whether they did it better than me or worse than me, I don't know. I don't really care. So, but if you can take that time and spend time in silence like Ryan is talking about, one, it's about the hardest work you can possibly do because it's hard to shut your brain down. And it might take you some times of practice to make this happen. That's okay. It's totally okay. So, another thing that I would do is journal. Some people journal a lot. Some people don't. I journal. I have 3 journals now. I have a morning journal, an evening journal, and a therapy journal. Right? They're all different colors. I have a black one for the morning because morning is my most hated. Sorry, it's not. It's just that's, I don't know why. I have a gray one for the evening because nighttime is gray, I guess. And then I have a blue one for therapy because you go to therapy when you're feeling blue or something. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not necessarily sure why those colors ended up where they did. I just knew I needed to pick one. And so now I have these journals, right? And so I'll write in the morning. I'll write down where my brain's at. I'll write down where my brain's at in the evening before I go to bed and kind of reflect on the day and kind of reflect on where did I come throughout the day. And then my therapy journal, that's when I have specific assignments from my therapist It tells me, hey, you need to be working on this stuff. Like, here's this video, here's this book, here's this audio program, here's this podcast, here's whatever. Get into that and then, move forward and answer these questions. She'll usually give me like 2 or 3 questions to think about and ponder and write answers to, and like, how, what does it mean for you to lead? What does it mean for you to be a leader? That's kind of where we're going, the direction we're going now, because we're kind of past a lot of the depression. We're getting there, and it still springs up, but anyway, doesn't matter. Journal. And you saw my ADHD starting to go, I start going off in a rabbit trail. Now here we go. Journal if you can. Okay. Kishan says, honestly, daily habit building is probably my worst skill. That's okay. I know. It's hard. If you want to get better at that, I have ways and techniques that can help. They involve calendars and a big marker. You just take a calendar and you just X off the days when you did the habit. And then you get into this mode of saying, oh, dang, I'm going to get through the end of this day and I'm not going to mark off this day. I better do the thing. So because you kind of get hooked on seeing those X's stack up, and you're just like, ooh, Kishan says, I don't know that journaling is something that'll really work, but I'm thinking about trying to add stretches and some other health-focused stuff. Absolutely. Exercise is a wonderful thing. It's a tremendous thing. If you're not doing it, then I would recommend it. I'd recommend that for everybody and for mental health as well. Now, here's the funny thing. People get all messed up with what exercises do what for their body. The general information out there is pretty well backwards on what things do what for you.
Mm-hmm.
I had a person say, hey, Joe, I want you to help me with a workout program. I'm like, okay, cool. What do you want to work on? And he says core. And I'm like, does that mean you want to lose weight around your midsection? Or does that mean you want to have a strong core? And we're in America, right? Most of the time it's what people say when they say that, what they mean is they want to reduce the fat that's around their core, right? And so they're going to be really surprised when I send them a program that's working leg muscles and back muscles. Because the general, the common general knowledge out there says, hey, if you want to make your gut smaller, do lots of sit-ups and crunches and do all this stuff to make your core stronger because then it will burn the fat that's around your core. Nope, that's not how fat works. And eating fat doesn't make you fatter. Eating sugar does.
So I need more sugar in my diet.
Right? But anyway, the reason for the legs and the back was okay, if you want to get rid of this excess fat that you have, then what you need to do is figure out ways for your body to use that fat while you're resting. You don't burn enough during your workout to make it effective. Right? So what you want to do is build your larger muscle groups to be stronger and to be bigger, because then what they will do is they will require more calories from you while you're at rest, the bigger you make them. So, and those big muscle groups are your legs, particularly your upper legs, and your back. Those are the largest muscle groups that, we can exercise and make it have an impact. And so it's really interesting. But anyway, the citric acid cycle is by a really mean person. I missed something, I think. Okay. Kishan says, my mental health was so much better when I was running every couple days. Absolutely. You know why? Because cardio, I learned this from a heart surgeon. Cardio isn't necessarily great for your cardiovascular system. It's not going to help you prevent heart disease. to do lots of cardio. You would think, hey, I'm working my heart. It's getting better. He said, no, cardio is good for your mind. So there you go. Your mental health was better when you were running every couple of days. That totally lines up. Because you're doing cardio work, it increases your mental. Another thing that you can do that helps mental state is, this is going to be really controversial. And I will say again, I'm not a health professional. This is for entertainment purposes only. You shouldn't do any of the advice I say because I am just a big nincompoop and, okay. So legal disclaimer out of the way. Now that I can say whatever I want because I've done legal disclaimers, I would say increase your fat intake for better mental health. And people will be like, oh, but what about cholesterol? What about high? I'm like, a big thing on that is sugar. Sugar's a big problem. But our body, our minds use about 50% of the calories that we eat. And fat has more calories per gram than protein or carbohydrates. So the more...
And it's easier to digest because it's literally mush.
Yes, absolutely. And so what I find, personal experience, when I eat more fat, my brain works better because I'm getting all these calories. I'm getting better mental support because of what I've eaten. Does that make sense? So anyway, all that aside, you can get into nutrition and you can get into exercise. Hey, I'll tell you what, if you have this downtime, you could make yourself absolutely ripped.
Ooh.
You could get this chiseled body. It'd be great. There's all kinds of things you can do with downtime. But here's the thing. I think what Ryan said earlier was absolutely hitting the nail on the head. Silence. Take time in silence. Take time doing nothing. And I would take it a step further and say, take time thinking nothing. That's really hard.
Spend time in all of these.
Mm-hmm.
The goal isn't to think nothing. The activity of thinking nothing is healthy.
Yes.
But that alone does not suffice. So, right.
Mm-hmm.
That isn't the goal. I just want to clarify that's a utility, not the program.
Right.
Because contemplation is really important. Obviously, you can't work through your dark thoughts if you don't have them.
Right.
So,
but a lot of times we get stuck in our dark thoughts.
Oh yeah.
And so then it helps to cleanse the palate.
For sure.
And set yourself at peace and just exist.
Mm-hmm.
And understand that you're part of this vast universe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird. Like the smaller we feel, sometimes the better we feel about it, because we feel like, you know what? All these things that I thought mattered so much, they don't really matter as much. All these little things that, I got all upset about or uptight about, it doesn't really matter that much. We get so caught up in trying to control our world and our lives and our everything that happens, and whatnot. And then all of a sudden something out of left field comes and throws us all off track. Then we got to deal with that thing. Then it's like, man, now what? And so then we get all even more frustrated because we don't have control over that. And, but the more we take time and just understand, hey, you know what? The world has been here for, billions of years, and it's been here for before I got here. It got here just fine. Before all the technology that we have, it survived. And you know what? I'm going to die. And then afterwards, the world's going to continue going. And so I have this time. And I have this gift of existence. And This is probably weird for a lot of you to hear me saying this. Because I had a big argument with existence itself for a long time. But it is a gift.
Mm-hmm.
And what you do with it, you get to choose.
Mm-hmm.
And some things are going to go the way you want them to, and some things aren't. But it's okay. It's going to be okay. So anyway, I don't know. I just wanted to kind of point back in the direction of what Ryan was saying and then maybe expand upon it a little bit, because there are lots of great things you can do. There's lots of great things you can fill your time with, but I think the most valuable, when you've been overworked for a long time, or you've been working really hard and not had time, one of the best things you can do is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And just be open to the universe around you. Be open to the world around you. Just be open. And you'll be amazed at what kind of ideas come your way.
Mm-hmm.
When you just kind of flush it all out and you take that time to just let it go. And that's why I would say journal, because that works for me. It doesn't work for everybody, but I have to. I have so many random hatchet thoughts, like all the time. Like I gotta just like I gotta write stuff down, or else I'm gonna forget, and then I'm gonna have to relearn these lessons. You know. But anyway, I'm gonna turn it back over to Ryan. Ryan, did you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
I think we're good. You asked some questions about, about quitting, and about your parents and all that they're giving you and how to digest that, and what you should do about it. And, obviously you don't want to take advantage of them. I think it's important to look at some things from your point of view. Like if you had someone that you were supporting, out of the kindness of your heart because you love them and you just want them to succeed. How do you feel about those types of things? What do you expect from your parents to feel? How do you reward that desire in them and the good that they give you? There are so many gifts in life, and you are a source of gift as well. And so it's just, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot to process here, and I think a lot of it doesn't need to be processed by us. I think that a lot of this is in your ballpark to solve. And we're just here to encourage you to solve it in this case, which is kind of a weird thing because, we usually attack problems differently, I think, on this show. But in this case, I think that if you are up for the challenge of silence, you'll work through these problems.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good, pretty well. Mm-hmm. And you'll be happier with that than with us telling you what we think.
Mm-hmm. I gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you did say that. Yes, exactly.
What? That a large part of writing this was to write it and have someone actually read it. Gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And like Ryan's, it's so funny because Ryan wrote a song about when the darkness comes.
Mm-hmm.
But it is amazing that sometimes in our own hearts and minds, we have to reach into that darkness.
Yeah.
In order to get through it. Because the premise of the song is when the darkness comes, don't betray yourself for it, right? Like almost like don't let it come your way.
Right, yeah.
But now we're telling you, dive into the darkness.
Mm-hmm. But you don't have to become dark.
That's true.
Don't become the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. But it's a scary place to be, and so sometimes you have to be willing to be afraid. It's like the old saying, it's okay to be afraid. There's no such thing as courage without fear.
Right.
In order to have courage, like the prerequisite is to be afraid. And then to go forward anyway. I shall become as Kingdom Hearts intended. That went right over my head.
Yeah, sorry, it went over my head too, Kitchen Slayer. I haven't played it. I just know that it's a good game and everyone loved it. I apologize. I wish I knew the reference.
Meanglios, dive into the depths of darkness, but don't let it consume you. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. So yes, we do have to face darkness. Sometimes we have to do things. We have to face the darkness in the world sometimes and dive in and get our hands dirty and help
Yep.
as best we can and dive into those areas that make everybody uncomfortable and ourselves included. And sometimes I think the even bigger struggle is facing our own minds at times. That can be really hard to do. And I know, I probably did this a lot. I didn't realize I was doing it at the time, but I'm a really hard worker.
Yeah, you are.
I work hard. You put something in front of me,
out.
and I'm gonna work. What's that?
I work out.
I work out.
You work hard.
Yeah. That's kind of like me. My default mode is to be a hard worker. But here's the thing: like, if I fill all my time with work, I've learned to ask myself, what am I running away from?
Interesting.
Because sometimes I will do that to myself. I will just fill my time and fill my attention with my tasks that I have to do in order to avoid the thing that I'm afraid of. The thing that I don't want to deal with. The thing that I don't want to dive into my mind and handle. I will fill my time and my attention with the tasks in order to avoid that. And so, like, if I start like overworking myself and like saying, okay, I got all these things to do. Now, sometimes you just have a lot to do. But like, I don't know. Like, I've learned to ask myself, if I start to be overworked, I'm like, hey, what am I afraid of facing right now? Is there something? Is this just a natural outgrowth of being a busy person, or is there something that I'm avoiding? That's a good question to ask.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Baka, work hard, play harder. Well, and here's the thing. When you're working, be at work, and when you're playing, be at play. Because so many of us, our brain, when we're working, we're like, oh, man, I wish I was playing. And then when we're playing, we're all stressed about work while we're trying to relax, So, like, put your whole self into what you're doing. And that's, that's good. So, anyway, I don't know. Ryan, did you have anything else?
Nope. We're good.
All right, cool.
Thank you so much for this topic.
Yes, absolutely. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you. It's great to see you again.
Yeah.
It's been a while. I'm glad to hear that things are going well. I'm glad to hear that, you're in school and doing stuff and things are happening. I think that's awesome. Yeah. And I hope some of what we said shed some light on it's funny I said shed some light because we're telling you to go into the darkness.
Well, you have to shed light into the darkness. It makes sense. That's how you resolve it.
Yeah, that's true.
The resolve is when you take a darkness and you shed light on it, and then it makes sense, and you're like, oh, that makes sense. It's resolved.
Right.
It's resolved. Yeah, it's fine.
I gotcha. Okay. Well, thank you so much for the topic. Thank you guys so much for being here. RK, I have to tell you, if you're here, I know I said we'd get to your topic, and I'm so sorry we didn't. Man, but we will be here next week, and hopefully we can handle it next week. Next week we'll be here at the regular time of 8 o'clock, unless it changes the day before, like this one did.
That's right. I did tell you like 2 or 3 weeks in advance,
you
but
did.
I was like,
and then I forgot.
I'll have to remind you the day before or whatever.
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
it'll come.
Work.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. And RK, sorry we didn't get to your topic. I know it's an important one. It's an urgent one. I remember talking with you. If you want to reach out to me on Discord, you absolutely can. If you want to talk through some of this stuff, I'd be happy to. Because I know
I read through the topic. It's a good one.
It's fairly urgent, and I know some of these things are pretty painful. And so if you want to talk through it, I'd be happy
Yeah.
to. So, and you know how to DM me. So anyway, thank you guys so much for being here on Don't Worry Wednesday. Again, if you have a topic you'd like us to discuss, go to don'tworrywednesday.com, click the submit a topic button, and we'd be happy to do your topic. We'd be happy to talk with you while you're here. It's great when you guys are active in the chat and can offer insight into what's going on and responses to what we're saying, because then we can kind of guide what we're saying. Anyway, thank you guys so much. And don't forget that Ryan, Static P, is supposed to have a single drop this Friday.
Oh, I am?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. What is it?
The 28th. It's the cover song. It's a cover song.
Oh, okay. Well, great. I'll have to get on it, I think. No, you got it? Okay. Well, all right. Well, enjoy it. I'll find out what it is.
I'm doing my job here. Like I'm
putting
putting out your music.
Yeah, jeez.
Because I handle all that administrative garbage that has to be done, right? And so like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Casey and I just emptied my mind, that's all.
Kat, you're so awesome. I'm so good at joeing. Whatever that may be at any current moment.
Yeah,
I might just be really
Joe, you're such
upset.
a Joe.
I'm so good at being Joe. Right now I'm joeing angrily.
Dang, man, the Joe is strong with this one.
Right now I'm laughing joeing. Yeah, but anyway. Thank you guys so much for being here. We love you. We will see you next time on Don't Worry Wednesday. And until then, we love you. Have a wonderful, wonderful life. And yeah, take care of your guys' selves. Because, man, we'd do it if we could, but we got our hands full with ourselves.
Everyone does. So you got to count on yourself a little bit on that one.
Yep.
Take care of yourself.
So take good care of yourselves. We will see you next time. We love you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye now. Peace.